Good morning, afternoon, and evening. Welcome back to the Liberal Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Bodio, and with me I have Kaylie Horowitz.
Howdy, howdy.
And Andy Gibby Gibson.
I'm not even sure that Kaylie said excuse me after she burped so voraciously, and frankly, I don't know if I would have excused her, because that was foul.
So yeah, then what would have been the point if you weren't gonna excuse me to begin with?
My superiority, that's the point.
Oh, okay.
As long as I feel better, then that's worth it all.
Quiz time.
I didn't study.
Good.
Oh, shit.
It's a pop quiz.
According to the hit movie Space Jam,
Ooh.
Where is Toontown located?
Under a manhole.
Under, not a manhole.
Oh. A golf course.
Uh-huh. Where is that golf course?
Oh, no. Is it California? I think that's too easy.
Mm-mm.
Like, I was like, it's not LA.
Is it in Chicago?
No.
Okay, because Michael Jordan is golfing. Is it Florida?
Mm-hmm.
I was about to
Nope.
say, is it Orlando? Oh.
No. You want a hint?
Sure.
What was Michael Jordan doing professionally at the time?
Oh, it's in Alabama because...
Yes, sir.
Because he
Where?
was playing for the
Oh.
Birmingham Barons,
Yeah.
the Chicago White Sox, like, minor league farm system team.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that, like, the Looney Tunes live in Birmingham?
The Looney Tunes live in Hoover.
Oh my god.
Damn.
Like,
Ha!
fucking Bugs Bunny could have played, like, 6A football, and he
Straight up.
could have been playing us, and we just didn't know about it.
I think they filmed it on site.
Mm.
Yeah, in Toontown.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan played for the Birmingham Barons,
Hmm.
minor league
Not the
baseball.
Birmingham Bears.
No, I don't know if that's a team.
But it was Bears.
What the
Those
fuck are you
bees.
talking about?
The house in that movie was his house in Birmingham.
Wow.
And then the golf course is in Hoover, which is like in the Birmingham metro area.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that the other day.
That's so
I was like,
earth-shattering for a very
Right?
specific niche of people, including us.
It brought on the question to me, or the reality to me, that there's a universe where the movie is Space Jam starring Charles Barkley,
Oh.
and I want that movie more than anything else.
It's just in Leeds, Alabama instead.
Yeah.
It is just in Leeds.
It would have been so much cooler if it was Prince Charles,
All right, so
You know?
theory-wise,
theory-wise.
does that mean that Toontown and the extended borders, which I assume include the Badlands of Wile E. Coyote fame,
Sure.
only exists within the Deep South? Or do we believe that there are other portals and rabbit holes across the entirety of America, which would make more geographical sense for the Roadrunner and the Coyote to be out in the desert?
So it's presented in Space Jam that the cartoons aren't like pictures in real life. It's a Who Framed Roger Rabbit thing.
Yeah.
Like in Toontown, they are actors,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Because Toontown is an animated version of the Warner Brothers lot in Hollywood,
Just under a golf course.
just under a golf course in Hoover, Alabama.
Versus the like Roger Rabbit concept is that like, yeah, y'all are actors, but like Toontown is like the sketchy side of town you gotta get to.
Yeah, it's like on the other side of the 105, and you pass through a tunnel.
Yeah.
Toontown is just like the place that like all of the people from Orange County are like, I don't go through there when I go to LA. And it's just like, motherfucker, you don't leave like oh gosh, I'm about to say a city and some LA person is about to be like, wrong! That's not where that is. Santa Clarita. That's definitely in
Clarita.
Orange County. Yeah, I know
Nice.
my
Got him.
geography.
He saved it, baby.
Oh man, snatched victories from the cartoonish jaws of defeat.
It's just interesting, right? Because we as Auburn students, we were talking about this off the pod just a second ago. We as Auburn students had a weird amount of access to Charles arguably too much access to Charles Barkley. Across my life, I've met him in at least 5 times.
That's fucking
Charles
And-
Barkley and Bo Jackson, to be fair.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I've met Bo. in
However
person.
large you think Bo Jackson is,
He's bigger.
He's
double
bigger.
it. And that's how he is in real life.
He's a big man.
He is a mountain of a man.
And we met him like past his prime. We didn't meet 20-year-old Bo Jackson. We met 40, 50-year-old Bo Jackson. He's huge.
I mean, I worked a college game day in my senior year of college where Charles Barkley was guest picker. And it was just like, this is royalty. This is the man right here. Like, not to like idolize celebrities too hard, but fuck it, we'll stand for Charles Barkley on this program.
I think he's why I don't get fangirly around celebrities.
Because he was just there?
Yeah.
Because he was just there. It's like, you're meeting a celebrity for the first time. I'm like, no. Me and Chuck had an hour-long conversation.
Me and Chuck!
Look, man, it's kind of all been downhill from an early age for me. Have I told you guys the story of when I met Tom Hanks?
No, the Tom Hanks story. No. You've told me. I don't think you've said it on the podcast, though.
All right, I'll keep it short. I was in Colonial Williamsburg, Virginia. The year was 2004, and they were filming the John Adams series out in a location-appropriate spot for the time period. And my parents see a big SUV, and they say, there's famous people in that car. Go talk to them. Which is not like a great strategy for like in general, like preventing child abduction, but hey, whatever.
It's 2004.
Yeah, it was fine. So I walk up to it. The window rolls down. Tom Hanks is sitting in the back. Spielberg is sitting in the passenger seat, and he's got a camera, just a little like the pre-flip cameras,
like a Super 8. No.
Like a little handheld, like first digital.
Yeah, a little camcorder kind of thing.
Yeah.
I, not realizing I'm talking to Sheriff Woody and not having seen the litany of American classics, walk up to him with the understanding that famous people are in the car. And I ask about the only famous celebrity that I know at the time. I ask if Arnold Schwarzenegger is in the car with him.
Awesome. Power move.
Yeah. So he rolls up the window. He rolls down the window. And Tom Hanks, America's dad, goes, "Hey, kid, how you doing?" And I was just like, whoa!
I'm sorry. This is great. But you're telling me that Steven motherfucking Spielberg was in the other seat?
Yeah.
What?
Like, there is somewhere in Steven Spielberg's vast archive of footage a clip of 8-year-old me accidentally big leaguing Tom Hanks and then getting rewarded for it. Incredible.
Steven, please, incredible. Anyone who knows Steven, we need to recover this footage.
We need that footage, please. That would be awesome.
Our deep web of connected people in LA that listen to this podcast.
Say, 1 out of 3 of us lives in LA now. We've got a snowball's chance in hell to some regard.
See if Steven can just send me an email with the clip, because you know that thing is only awesome. Like 2 megabytes at most.
Right.
Like, this was filmed on an SD card, if that probably had the same amount of memory as a speak and spell.
Auburn, Alabama, weird amount of famous people. I met Bradley Cooper at Sky Bar one night.
That's wild. That's wild shit.
Because I was there with a friend and I did not want to be there. Shout outs to Tara. I hope you're doing good. And there's a guy just at the bar sitting by himself, sipping on like a bud or something. And Tara grabs me. She's like, "That's Bradley fucking Cooper." I'm like, "Tara, that is not Bradley Cooper. You're insane." It's like, I'm going to go talk to him. Like, "That's not Bradley Cooper. That is a stranger. Please don't bother him."
Stranger
and she goes up. She straight up is like, "You're Bradley Cooper, right?" And he goes like, we're like, "Shit."
Big move.
And this was like right after, I think A-Team had just came out. So this was as he was becoming like super, super famous. He was already in plenty of movies. And I was like, "Dude, A-Team is sick." and she took a selfie with him. I was just like, "Hey man, good shit. We're going to leave you alone now."
That's wild.
We just had a random amount of like famous people during our window of time to think about it.
I'm blanking on the actor's name right now, but Carl from The Walking Dead too.
His kid almost, y'all met him because his kid almost came to Auburn.
Yes, like he toured
Carl
contemplating
himself.
Can I keep
Yeah.
filming in Atlanta while going to school at 2 hours away? And I guess it didn't end up working out, but he seemed pretty chill.
He picked UGA, the bastard.
Also, like, it wouldn't have worked out anyway because they pulled a surprise death of Carl like a season later when he's supposed to make it to the end of the goddamn series.
Didn't give my mans a chance.
I'm gonna have some fun here and just say that our comedians during the like comedy fest on the plane or whatever every year are pretty insane in retrospect because we had Nick Offerman, John Mulaney, and then we had I can't just say butthole eyes, Pete Davidson.
Was that while we were in school?
Pete Davidson and Ariana Grande, because they were engaged at the time, both came to Auburn.
Word.
And
I think I was graduated by then.
You were definitely gone. It turned into a bit of a madhouse. And I'm just going to throw this one out here. This is ancient lore right here. In like 2009, there was an internet campaign called A Hug from Taylor Swift.
Yes!
This was the Speak Now era. This was like before she's the megastar. This might have even been like
she was country girl era Taylor Swift.
Was Speak Now her debut, or was it like a self-titled?
Taylor Swift was her debut. If I am not a Swiftie, but I remember dancing to these songs in ballet class for years.
Suffice to say, this is before she got big. Some guy just put together like a Facebook campaign, just like get me as many likes as possible to try to get like a hug from Taylor Swift. And Taylor Swift, now mega billionaire, selling out like thousands of venues around the world, back when she was just like the country girl, actually came to Auburn, and they basically hosted a press conference for her to give this guy a hug.
Yeah. No, I remember seeing the video of that going, that's wild. My favorite Auburn celebrity story is the block party that happened my freshman year where Nick Jonas played. No, Nick Jonas played.
Oh, Nick Jonas and Kesha.
And
I do remember that.
I had a Joe Bro phase. Fun. I loved the Jonas Brothers. I was like crying over Kesha. I was
she
like
was good.
Glittered, covered in like ripped, tattered, like very tribal 2014 looking like neon tank top and t-shirt, covered in glitter, drenched in sweat. It's like April in the South, but like there she is, mother in all of her glittery glory, and it
Mother
was
is mothering.
Fantastic.
The university actually got in a lot of trouble for that.
I know, but it was worth it. It was worth it.
It was a good fucking show.
Dude,
no,
it's
everybody
like
else showed up though. No, it was just like, okay, it's a block party for the students, but then a whole bunch of other nuts and everyone else showed up.
So at Auburn, we have an event called A-Day, which is in preparation for the football season. The football team's offense will play the football team's defense. And, you know, it's a citywide
joust
thing. So the university thought it would be fun if they brought the concert and opened it up to the city. Parents are stupid and they don't do research on who's coming.
Always.
So when a bunch of parents from the city brought their kids to a Kesha show where she had people dancing around in penis suits, if you know who Kesha is, you know, this is part of the bit. A lot of parents got pissed off because they didn't do research. So they didn't get to do that anymore.
No. But for one glorious night,
it was fun.
We were all going to die young.
Yeah, I'm not a Nick Jonas fan. He was very good.
Yeah.
He was very good.
Good for him.
And I am a Kesha fan. She was...
Bodio, come up here. Come up here next month. We can go see her in concert.
Please.
Nowhere more exciting for concerts than Buffalo, New York.
Listen, Darien Lake Amphitheater is okay. I'm going to see Weird Al in a couple weeks. I'll let you know.
Oh, that'll be fun.
I've seen him twice. I would do it thrice. Incredible performer, even better human.
You can go 3 for 3 if you come to Buffalo, New York.
Shit. They might get me on that.
We've been shooting the shit for a little bit longer than we
anyway.
usually do.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's still Pride, baby.
It's still Pride. Damn it!
We're not leaving. Well, actually, hold on.
You can drag me out of this month with your cold.
It'll still be Pride.
Wait, my cold dead.
Fuck.
Hold on, I've ruined the phrase. Never mind.
No, this episode is going up on Juneteenth. We fucked it up. We have to swap everything.
No.
Shit.
I'm kidding. We don't have to.
Okay. But also happy Juneteenth.
Yeah, know when you're listening to this, dear listener, I am invincible for the next 24 hours.
It's like it's the opposite of the purge for Bo.
Oh, yeah. You can't hurt me. I have 29 days, 30 on a leap year of the year where I am a bronzed god.
Don't touch me, I'm sterile.
Yeah. It's Black History Month and Juneteenth. That's all I get. Let me have it.
Yeah, you're like a horror villain for like racists where like they're just like, finally, we made it out of February. We're safe. And then June rolls around on the calendar, and for one day it's just like,
Yeah.
He's back.
It's June 18th at 11:59 a.m. It hits midnight. I bust through the ceiling.
What's the song that plays?
Gangster's Paradise?
Yes.
Like the ascending vocals of Gangster's Paradise. I was gonna say Bo just has like an anti-sea bear circle drawn around it. It's like, you can't get me. Ah.
They're all listening to Morgan Wallen, and slowly the Gangsta's Paradise starts to overtake it.
Awesome.
So yes, happy Juneteenth and Pride.
Happy Juneteenth. Know that I'm mad that we didn't do a Juneteenth episode, but whatever. We're doing a Pride one instead.
We gotta plan better next year. Y'all told me to pick stuff, and foolish that you all are, you went, we're not thinking about this is the token gay friend in the group, and they can't plan anything on time.
You can't take the blame here, because this movie was one of Bo's suggested movies.
Sure.
So unfortunately, you have fallen on your own rainbow-colored sword here, my friend.
Which way?
Let's ignore that.
It's Pride, damn it. It's a joke. Anyways.
So Thelma and Louise. 1991 movie about two ladies who go on a road trip and stuff happens. That's the movie.
That's it. Summarize a plot badly. You got it.
I feel like we've missed an inciting incident within there.
Nah, it's just about two nice ladies going on a trip together.
Yeah, they're going out to the mountains. They're gonna go fishing.
Can you imagine recutting this movie and you just turn it into an average road trip movie, and they've got like wide open spaces by the Dixie Chicks playing? There's no crime, there's no murder or anything.
I would love to see the recut version of this as like the buddy comedy road trip that it was meant to be.
Of the traveling vintage car.
Thelma and Louise, man, classic movie, 1991. We gave it a watch because it's Pride. This is sometimes called like a lesbian's favorite movie. That's how I was always introduced to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I agree with that, but
Let's talk about it.
We'll get into it. So, thoughts?
I feel like a bad film person, and maybe this is my own poor facial recognition quality when people are like, oh, this like degrees of from Kevin Bacon kind of thing with films, when people just know what actors were in what movies. Can't even begin to do that. I spent half of this movie I'm so sorry, Susan Sarandon, if you're ever somehow listening to this, I'm so sorry. I did not know that was you in this. I spent half of this movie going, that's Sigourney Weaver. Wait a minute. No, it's not. No, it's
different
fucking
Ridley
not.
Scott movie.
Exactly, but it's because it was Ridley Scott.
The woman was in Rocky Horror Picture Show, Kaylie.
I know.
And you didn't even say her name right. It's Sarandon.
Sarandon. Oh, okay. See, to me that
I've
reads,
only ever seen it written.
That's like I don't want to call you Saran Wrap though, so that my apologies.
Susan Saran Wrap. Sorry, I'm coming down too hard on you in this episode. It's Pride Month.
We just started, God. But no, I think truly just the Ridley Scott bias, which very exciting to see like that in the title credits of like, oh, okay. But like, you know, it's not Alien. It's a different kind of fear and suspense and excitement in the way that the thrills of this movie are executed. But very, very like excited and intrigued right out the gate when it's the like, oh, and here's a very different kind of Ridley Scott film. That I think just gave me the implicit bias in my mind of, oh, Sigourney. Loved the way in which like it's a road trip and there are things that go wrong, and so there are decisions that have to be made to counteract it in that wonderful Ridley Scott fashion. It's that like, oh, but the stakes raise, and yet no matter how we get pretty wacky, it gets pretty high up there, but it still feels like, oh, but the next like brick that's laid, the next step we have to take feels earned, which makes it a really satisfying movie to sit down and watch. Like, it's 2 hours. It's a 2-hour film.
Oh, it's so nice.
But 45 minutes in, I like had to pause it and I went, wait, it's only been 45 minutes? I thought we've covered more time oh my God, okay.
Do you want to synopsize for us, Gibby?
Yeah, sure do. So Thelma and Louise is the story of two friends who plan a weekend away to the mountains to get away from their domestic lives that are not quite as happy as either of them would like to be. One is in an unhappy marriage to her high school sweetheart. The other is in a long-term relationship with a singer who's always on the road. And with their first taste of freedom comes a terrible moment after going out and dancing at a bar with a man. That man tries to assault Thelma, only for Louise to save her at the nick of time, right when you think that they are going to just walk away. He tries to lay in one more insult, and Louise caps him right in the heart, and it fucking rules.
It is ass.
Knowing that no court would believe their story because sexism, especially in the legal system, they go on the run and they try to figure out what to do. And along the way, we meet a variety of other men who aren't shit.
And some who just still are, despite hoping against hope they might not be.
Oh, no. I mean, as to say, they ain't shit.
They ain't shit, not that they aren't shitty. Okay.
Yeah. These men are not worth shit. Even you, Brad Pitt. Even if you got nice abs, and canonically in this movie you fuck good. Anyways, it's the story of them learning to break away from that domesticity, find that freedom on the open road, and embrace all of the chaos that ensues after. And I think the most famous part of this movie is the ending, in that because they turn into, a Bonnie and Clyde style duo, they do go out with a bang. The sound of a car crashing against the basin of the Grand Canyon because they drive off the side
Spoilers.
of it. I mean, here's the thing. When a movie's ending is more famous than a movie's story, it's hard to say spoilers. In the same way that's like The Sixth Sense. Oh, Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. And it's like, cool, what else happens in the movie? I don't know. But Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. Exactly. So I don't think we have to put up a spoiler warning for a movie that was around at the time when the Berlin Wall had just fallen. Yes.
You've got a point.
Yeah.
Carry on.
This movie is like old enough to be like, yeah, it's from a very different era.
It's older than all of us.
Oh,
shit, you're right.
By a clear margin, too.
By a couple of years, yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cool little flick.
Yeah.
I don't think we have to say much. We all like this movie. We all love this movie.
Yeah. That's the easy part. We've cleared that hurdle. Check the box.
I think this is one of the few instances, and not like few, like there's very rare, but like this is an instance of something that like in academia, like in film and media studies, this is a very well-renowned, well-regarded like a piece of film and cinema, as well as being like highly popular in different like pop culture circles as well, which those two circles of the Venn diagram do not always overlap when it comes to like what one side thinks is like peak high art, must be watched, etc. Here's one of the few cases where it feels like not universally, but pretty broadly across the board, everyone's like, no, this movie is really good.
It's in the goddamn Library of Congress now.
That it is.
Yeah, they just added it.
That's pretty good.
And so is Spy Kids, but that's another topic for another time.
We'll need a 5-part series on that.
Foreshadowing.
No, it's not. This movie, when it came out, got a lot of gripe because it's the early 90s.
Yeah.
And it's clearly a feminist piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The goal of the writer, one Kaylie Corey.
Hey,
the goal was to take like those buddy cowboy movies and just say, hey, what if it were two women instead?
mm-hmm.
But like even reading interviews from her from the 90s, from when the movie came out, even she was like, I didn't think people were gonna have the response that they had, right? Just because it turns out we've had right-wing pundits for a couple decades.
Too long. Too long.
Yeah. If you look at it from a very cynical standpoint, it can be like, yeah, this movie is, quote, anti-men, which is clearly not, right? It's had me really thinking, man, because I think it's anti-men in that one of Curry's goals was to say, hey, let's treat men the way that women are treated in a lot of popular movies.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's going back and saying, especially movies of the era that I really enjoy, what kind of like tropes do I go back and look at that aren't super cool? The one that really stood out to me was Rush Hour. Rush Hour 1, there is a woman in the movie. She's in there for a very short amount of time, and she's there to basically just be hot and then say some one-liners, and then we're out. To put a more modern movie, it's made me we're gonna go all over the place in this conversation. It's made me have a really weird relationship, a more negative relationship with A24.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Because The Brutalist. I don't like it's not a good movie. I
for other reasons, but yes.
But like one of the big things I remember saying right out of the theater after I had seen it is, why are all the women in this movie sex objects?
Me about every Scorsese movie ever.
Yeah, that's a good point, right?
I just watched Midnight in Paris on Sunday morning, and it was just like, in Woody Allen movies, they really don't have very well-defined character arcs for the women.
Yeah.
What could that be about?
So it's just interesting, man, to have the mirror flip. I can see if you don't try to empathize with the situation, or you don't know that the artist was doing something intentionally there. I can see how, if you're not used to being objectified or presented in that fashion, you could be like, oh, they hate me. But I don't know, man. It just empathize with people and try not to take it too seriously, you know?
Yes to everything, and also like the frustration that this movie came out over
30 years
basic
ago.
Math. Yeah, over 30 years ago. And we are still sitting in a social climate that's asking, why are we losing all of these young impressionable men? Male loneliness epidemic, and what can we do to encourage empathy? And we keep saying men are just the problem, but like, what does that mean? It's this. It is literally the notion of having mud flaps on one's tires of a pinup model, and normalizing that as an okay decoration. The behavior that a lot of these men exhibit, in front of both Thelma and Louise, but also in like amongst each other. It's the buddy conversations of all the cops as they're like trying to plan with Daryl how they're gonna get Thelma to clue him in on where they are. You like, tell her you miss her. Women like that shit. yeah, right. Like shit like that, where you're like, yeah, it's a little on the nose, but also, if this is not something you have not intentionally or otherwise been raised or conditioned to be aware of and interpret in body language and interactions, then yeah, you're gonna miss a lot of it and just go, well, why are they just shitting on the guys? Versus like any woman or like femme presenting person that I know has like seen this movie or has had like, you know, experiences in discussions of this kind of stuff in media as it exists today, in that like, yeah, it feels like old hat, but we keep having to just repeat the fucking conversation because you aren't listening.
Yeah, I think what you're describing is toxic masculinity, which is a phrase that's been driven into the dirt.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything because everybody just
pundits.
Keeps like, yeah, exactly, taking it out of context or trying to like over exaggerate with some weird straw man thing. But like, no, it exists, but like you're not hearing what it is the women in your lives are trying to say about what that exhibits, what that looks like.
Because I do want to step in and say, hey, the male loneliness epidemic, I know it's okay to joke about that stuff, but it is an issue.
Absolutely. No, and that's the thing where it's like, no, like you're not wrong. And again, to come to the point of like this movie being a feminist film, first and foremost, again, whatever strange pipelines of white feminism some people have fallen down, but like at the core, it is equality. It is that we should not ignore the emotional needs of men, but we should also not objectify and belittle women, that they should both be on equal status, equality of care, concern, and consideration as human beings in relationships to one another.
And one of the best ways to do that is to show people, hey, this is what you're doing and this is how it makes me feel.
Yeah.
This made you feel bad too? Great. Please stop doing it.
Right. Please, literally just stop.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that this movie really does mirror a lot of what other Hollywood films, especially blockbusters, do, in that not only do they commit acts of justified violence within the context of the film,
federal crimes.
I mean, I'm not going to like say, hey, it was a real win for feminism when Thelma robbed that store.
But it was
feminism win. This robber
is a woman. No, but like honestly,
more so what I'm talking about is one, shooting a rapist, and two,
fuck him,
going like overboard against the truck driver that's harassing you and like fully going nuclear explosion by shooting his truck, which, you know, even within the context of the film, are extreme.
Yeah.
If you look at the other movies that are coming out at the time, the male action stars are causing so much more destruction, so much more death, and so much more violence through often pure rage without care for innocent life or anything. Like, I know you can't like argue logic to somebody who like is already set in their ways, because they're just going to move the goalposts further, and then, you know, eventually like the center becomes what was once the right, because they move further to the right and say, meet me in the middle.
Exactly.
All I'm saying is like this movie does reflect a lot of those tropes and sequences, but is only like half as intense.
Absolutely. No, and I'm glad like you mentioned, because I'm like, yeah, no, you're the 90s is this like era of like macho big blockbuster explosion, manly kind
Mission
of
Impossible,
like
Terminator. Though Terminator 2 does have a female secondary character, but the point stands.
I'm thinking like the Die Hards, the Arnolds,
Independence Day,
the Independence Day, the Rush Hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like here is like a golden age of men blowing shit up and it's cool and they get to do whatever.
Guys don't look at explosions.
And then you have this one film where we start to get a little out of hand just because they are literally just trying to protect their own skins after a situation was escalated from like past trauma. Like, spoilers, Louise kind of reveals that she, before having moved to Arkansas, met Thelma, their life together in suburbia domesticity. She had been a victim of a rape and assault in Texas, and that witnessing what almost happened to Thelma is what set her off, on top of Fuckface's continued taunting, leading to his timely overdue demise. But that, other than that, they purposefully go, how can we keep as little like collateral damage and casualty out of us just trying to get away so that we don't go to jail? That by the time we get to the truck explosion, like, we're so contained in, like, I think what is actually pretty like what would I do in the given circumstances with the resources that I have available? The truck driver to me becomes this like slightly more exaggerated, like, not a metaphor in this case, but like definitely the most like allegoric, like, hey, this is the point, because here is this very phallic, large, obnoxious vehicle that we continue to encounter over and over again, to the point of like, where the fuck are you going, dude? Like, stop following. Like, how do we keep finding you on this stretch of road? Every time met with lewd, crude rudeness, catcalling, like tongue licking out the window. But that's as dramatic as it gets, and to me that's more of a like, hey, we're coming to the end of the film, and kind of here's the like the visual stamp, the like the point of what this was about, you know?
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think it's more so like it's a demonstration of like these characters are so far gone that this is like the final thread of like they cannot return to civilized society, to this unhappy domestic life, like, and because they know that they can't do that, they are going to find catharsis in making a big truck fucking explode, because the guy is a representation of all of like the sexism and objectification that they have ever faced. He is like hardly a character. He's a stock caricature. Yeah. Because he's not meant to be a character. He's meant to be part of the set piece of like, all right, you earned this, pal. And
sure,
explosions are fun.
Explosions are fun. No, I love, over the course of everything having gone wrong, that as they continue down that logic of like, well, we can't go back, so what can we do going forward? Along that journey, I think pretty much every male figure they encounter, they take a piece of, and not like bodily, like flesh, but hat, sunglasses. They take the cop's holster that they then leave with air holes, but leave in the back of his own squad car.
Right.
Like, it's a very fun little like, like what you'd mentioned. It's like it's two ladies, Bonnie and Clyde, of like, we're going to hell in a handbasket. Let's just continue to raise it on our way down.
It's also the most fun they've ever had in their lives. Like, there's finally some measure of payback against a society that is built to objectify and demonize them.
Yes.
Like, like the one other scene that I think about is like, there's probably a lot of people at the time, and unfortunately nowadays, who were probably thinking like, oh, Thelma's a slut. She has sex with a guy that she just met. She has,
she's married.
She's dancing. And it's just like every other male character in an action movie that has sex displays these exact same characteristics and the exact same freedom and pleasure. And it's because she's a woman that you have criticism over this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you would never, ever be like, James Bond is a little bit of a hoe. Like, because, like, it's what his character is built to do. Blow shit up and fuck.
James, calm down.
They will never face, like, the double standard that female characters face.
In a lot of the sequences early, between Thelma and her shitty husband Daryl, and then later with not Harold, Harlan,
Fuckface.
yeah, fuckface McGee. There is a lot of like walking on eggshells that Thelma is having to navigate in the conversation, because it's always about power imbalance in interactions between men and women, when you're trying to be like, hey, he started it, but like, fuck, I could just die, like, if no one gives a shit. So seeing that kind of like the way in which she has to play by those rules in order to attempt to escape the encounter like intact. We get some other parallels to that, like it's that chunk of like social contract of the imbalance of power that this movie really like shows and leans into in multiple ways. Because one of the things that I really enjoyed, that I don't know if it's deliberate or if it's the artsy fartsy reading into it, but I mean, yes, it's very intimidating when somebody has a gun, but guns are very phallic for a lot of reasons. And so the moment that both of them are become armed, the way that they maneuver the cop around and parallel kind of the positions, the requests, the demands, actually quite politely, versus like the way Harlan was attempting to say politely but still use force to get what he wanted. Like, having them be able to be the men in power with the symbol of it like that is a nice little touch to me, that I'm like, I think this is too film schooly reading into it.
Yeah, I don't think that everything that looks like a tube looks like a dick. So I know what you mean.
No,
but I don't
like,
necessarily
and I
see that.
agree. I think it's like I don't know if I actually think this, but just the symbols like that, clocking it. I feel like there's also a lot of color palette analysis to be done in this movie. I just don't have
definitely a lot of costume analysis.
Yeah,
for me, it's what you were saying about the power imbalance. Right? A gun's the most dangerous thing we have in modern society that a normal person can get their hands on. So if you have the gun, you have the power in an argument, right? Yeah. So them becoming armed, and them, I'll use this to transition to a different conversation, them dressing in like t-shirts and jeans and taking cowboy hats and wearing holsters and whatnot, dressing more masculine. That's the makeup, turning point.
Hair,
not wearing makeup anymore.
Utility thing.
Yeah.
I think, like, I know I'm cheekily kind of like, oh, they take pieces of the men that they've encountered, but like, I think it does start with them in the motel trying to figure out, where do we go from here? Louise is given an engagement ring by Jimmy that she's like, well, great, cool, love you, can't stay, but I'll take this. And Thelma, despite getting robbed by JD, does take with her what he taught her about how to perform the robbery. And it's from that point that they become more masculine in their presentation and their mannerisms and how they conduct themselves. That like, that's the turning point of like, all right, we're leaving the softness behind. We're no longer doing makeup. We're fuck it. We are transcending typical womanhood, femininity, and becoming dangerous, because now everyone is going, oh God, they're smart, they're capable, and they're both smart and lucky. How can they keep doing this?
And he's got a gun,
right?
Yeah, I think that's a good turning point too. So like we said at the top of this is also seen as like a queer movie. I had it way back when I first heard about this movie. I had it described to me as like a lesbian's favorite movie, which I'm like, okay, sure. I couldn't find anything with the writer saying that, yeah, I intended this to be queer. At the same time, I understand that representation is important, and we see representation where we can get it, right? One of the key things people point to is the ending scene. Thelma and Louise Thelma kisses Louise before they drive over the side of the Grand Canyon. And a lot of people go like, oh, there it is! There it is! They were in love! Which I personally have never depicted as that. I was like, they're like, yeah, we're gonna die, and we're women, so we can show emotion a little more physically than guys can.
They have that
it was
intimacy.
It was also unscripted.
Yeah.
Sure.
Gina Davis just talked to Ridley Scott. She's like, hey, I'm gonna kiss her, and Ridley Scott was like, yeah, cool.
Minor correction.
Wait a minute.
It's flip-flopped.
Other way around. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Susan Sarandon as Louise told Ridley Scott, like,
don't make my mistakes.
Only because I think that, like, if it were flip-flopped, it would change some of the narrative as well, which I think would have also been interesting, of like the more reluctant to break away from the bonds of like traditional domestic femininity. If she would have been the one to give the kiss, I think that would have actually been even more narratively interesting. But there's a couple conversations to be had here, and we won't get through like all of them in just this episode. But one that I think about is like the author's intent versus like how a reading can change over time.
Sure.
Like, even if the author didn't intend something, an audience during the time at which it comes out and later can reinterpret that text. And this is a little more academic than I can really claim to be. But even if the author didn't intend for there to be queer like subtext to this, some of the things that we notice, such as them dressing in a much more butch fashion, perhaps, them acting in, a way for their own, satisfaction, not the satisfaction of men, things like that, like changing over time. People recognize some of those traits later on. I don't know if like the author will ever be like, yes, this is a queer movie because like people have reinterpreted it as such, or if they'll be just like, well, it wasn't my intent. If they haven't like, made a clear statement on it, we won't know. But it's just like a phenomenon that happens like all across fiction, everywhere from, books to movies and beyond. I think part of that is why I think there's a queer subtext to this, in that it's as queer as a movie can be for the time period that it came out. When you consider what other queer media there's very little from that time period. The most I'm thinking of is like some John Waters stuff, and that is on like the fringes of the film going public that, is out there.
Can I pop off?
Get it?
Well, the two things that immediately come to mind, because I don't think you're wrong. Like, I don't think that this was not written intentionally to be a lesbian love story, like specifically. But two phenomenon that I think are worth noting is that, one, historically, lesbians and bi women are erased, like,
good severely.
Friends. Exactly. They're good friends. They were roommates. Oh, they lived together their entire lives with their cats, and they made
crazy.
Their art, and wow, how unbothered were they as roommates?
Shout out to my aunts Deb and Sherry, who have been living together since the mid-70s.
Oh.
And as a young kid, before I knew about queerness, I was like, they must be really good friends.
But like, that's exactly it. This is a phenomenon that like bi and lesbian women have been like living with for, the several centuries at this point, as long as we've been kind of documenting these things. And you have to, again, it's reading between a lot of lines, because queer history is not really publicly available past a certain point, because they would have killed you.
And a lot of it was erased.
You have to read between a lot of lines when it comes to queer interpretations of not just relationships historically, but also like implied language text in written work, in stories, in narratives. So that factor of, hey, it's not always quite obvious when women are allowed to actually be in a relationship with one another versus, oh, they're just girlfriends, they're just gal pals. It is still an issue faced today that like it is fetishized. It is a like, ooh, taboo thing to like contemplate, but not actually allow women to be bi or sapphic with one another. And to that point, within the script, within the delivery of these lines, within the embodiment of the action of Thelma and Louise, right off the bat, I was like, if someone actually came out, I can't imagine they will, but if someone between these two went, I have an unrequited crush on you, I would 1,000% believe it. Because these are two women that have been clearly brought up in like Southern heteronormative culture, raised in very white suburbia environments, and have suffered at the hands of different types of people in those spaces. They've become jaded and had to protect themselves in their own ways. For Louise, it's being a little bit more catty, snappy, but still clearly like not on top of the world. Like, she's a waitress at a diner. She's kind of, you can see she's respected by her peers, but she's still not like, you know, living life large by any means. For Thelma, it's, I kind of have to, you know, walk on eggshells around my husband because he's a jackass, but I've never known anybody else my entire life. They are both kind of queer in that sense of like, they don't quite fit in to what the cookie cutter heteronormative life for them is supposed to be. And so as Thelma kind of looks to Louise at first as this like, she's got her shit together. She is this beautiful free spirit despite everything, continuing on. The way that she's nervous but excited to be around her, the way that she wants to just cut loose on this vacation and have a good time, the way that Louise constantly feels iffy about Jimmy and looks to Thelma for comfort and stability over and over until, you know, we shoot a guy and then we're on the run and now we really have only each other to get ourselves out of this shit. There's so much cooked into the beginning of that my little gay ass is reading between all those lines going, okay, if this didn't have to go this way, how quickly would we have turned Brokeback Mountain up on this fishing trip?
I have two counterpoints. I have counterpoints to both of the stuff you said. Number one, it's unfair to say the erasure of queerness in history is exclusive to women. That's
sure. No,
factually
across
untrue.
The board.
Yeah, that's for queer people in general.
Yeah.
Like Alexander the Great and his very good friend.
I don't want to be like one of those Roman dudes, but half of the Odyssey is Achilles is mad because they killed his boyfriend. Yeah. But we're not going to call him his boyfriend. That's his homie.
No.
Right.
For sure. No.
And then number two, to your second point, and this is where I get not confused. I get the argument, but I don't necessarily see it. Is what you're describing, not fitting into the cookie cutter mold, not having unsatisfaction in like your lot in life. That's not unique to the queer experience. I don't want to say everybody goes through that, but everybody does go through that.
But like especially marginalized people.
I was about to say it's
sure.
It's not an exclusive feeling, but it is something, and especially again in the way that like queerness, again, we're not seeing a lot of explicit like this is queer content, this is a gay relationship or a lesbian relationship in media, but queerness is often expressed around this time period in that like someone who doesn't quite fit in for whatever reason, whether it's stated as such one way or another, but
but so does every kids movie, right? And so does every movie that stars like a nerd, you know.
Okay,
sure.
So here's my thing. Like, I think the significant theme that we see in a lot of movies, like what you're talking about, is somebody saying, I don't feel like I fit in and I need to find where I belong. That's like every Disney Renaissance movie.
Yeah.
I feel like the difference in a situation like this is I don't feel like I fit in and I can't fit in within the boundaries of our society. So we must like depart.
We have to carve our
that.
own space. Like, I was told to have this. I've tried it. I don't feel like myself, or the version of myself that I am has been like withered away and suppressed to fit into this space, and I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And I understand why that fits the queer experience, and I'm not saying that it doesn't, right? Let me get that out of the way.
But it's also not, like, to your point, it is not an exclusively queer
because
experience.
What you're describing right now is replace some of those words with I don't fit in with the laws of here, and all of a sudden you've got a Clint Eastwood flick. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think what I'm coming at it, the angle that I'm coming at it is that, like, what we're doing right now is, in essence, film theory. Like, it is not to say that, like, objectively there is, like, only one way to read this, because we have evaluated this movie from a queer theory perspective. We have evaluated this movie from a feminist theory perspective. I mean, there's other readings, like, it's just different lenses of how to look at a movie. There's many popular ones, but I think those are just the two potentially most relevant to analyzing this movie critically. If you want to go crazy and give me the Marxist theory reading of this movie, fucking go crazy. If you want to give me the auteur theory, if you want to give me the auteur theory, go wild.
No, the thing that, like, I see over and over with Thelma and Louise again is that, like, maybe 20, 30 years ago, this was the, like, a notable pillar in quote unquote lesbian canon on screen. Currently in a lot of queer media, I do still hear it referred to it as a, you know, a gay quote unquote kind of movie, but I see it referenced in this growing kind of, you know, encounter to the young men today, you know, not whether or not they know how to date kind of questions of, like, okay, where are we drawing the lines of this? There's an increasing movement of young women going, I'm done dating men. It's not working. I feel unsafe. I don't feel like I connect with anyone, whatever. I wish I could just be a lesbian, and questions of whatever validity's there. So Thelma and Louise gets brought up a lot, where it's this, like, hey, running away from the shitty men of your life to just go be girls together, whether that's actually, like, just girls being girls and causing a ruckus and making their own space, or whether it's actually a no, but, like, you understand me in ways that the men in our lives have never been able, like, no one else has been able to understand me wholly, emotionally and bodily the way that you have, like, kind of idea. Like, it is resurged in this, like, new space of where, as the world goes insane, where do the rest of us go? Do we continue to try to perpetuate the white picket fence and happily little married lives, or do we go off into the chaos of the desert and fuck it, we ball for all intents and purposes?
This movie's tight.
Yes.
Go watch it. It's fucking sweet. While you're doing that, think about how thankful we are to you, yes, you, for listening to this episode of the Liberal Artist Podcast. Give us 5 stars wherever you're listening to. Follow us on our social media at LibArtistPod. Join us next time when we go into the desert. Don't question what we're doing there. We're just, like, chilling. We're just having a good time.
Yippee-ki-yay!
I'm just doing Fallout New Vegas things.
Peace.
The Liberal Artists Podcast premieres every other Thursday on your favorite podcasting platform. The show is hosted by Bodio, Kaylie Horowitz, and Andy Gibson. You can find the show at LibArtistsPod on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks to White Hot for performing the theme song Reflect, which can be found on freebeats.io. Now, I'm off to go exploring, and maybe, just maybe, I'll find a sheep that I can call my own. Good day.
James Bond is a bullshit spy. He's awful.
Oh, yeah.
It's out here telling everybody his first name, finding the first pretty lady he sees is like you.
Pretty
You're who
sure
I'm
it's a
having
code
sex with this
name,
week.
but like...
No, it's just that's his government name.
Shit.
Damn. What? Okay.
He's
this is
I think it becomes
spy.
sidetrack.
This
I'm
is
sorry, I
the stinger.
took
This
you
is
off.
the stinger. Welcome to
So
the
it-
stinger, where we have a mini
Yeah, with
episode
James
about
Bond.
James Bond.
Yeah. With James Bond, I
don't.
don't think the implication is ever they're a bunch of different guys. It's like the same guy. We just have a new actor playing him.
It's the moniker.
Because no, they're the same dude. They just look different because in real life it's a new actor. In the fiction, it is all the same guy.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because they're actually doing. I haven't read any of like the James Bond books, but they're doing a James Bond origin story video game, which I think is based on one of the early books, and they're bringing the kid into I forget what the spy agency is called.
MI6.
MI6.
Yeah.
They're bringing him into MI6, and they say his name is James Bond. Like that's his Christian name. So either he does so cool. Yeah. So it's like, no, these are all the same guy. And he's out here being like, I'm James Bond. It's like, dude, they know who you are. Stop getting your dick wet and save the country.
Maybe all the villains are like, that's clearly a code name. And he's just like, you're welcome to think whatever you like, pal.
Yeah. Shows him his ID.
That would also mean that James Bond has been perpetually like 38 years old since 1962.
Like The Simpsons.
Horrifying.
Yeah, man.
That man
Ash
had a
was
wife
10.
who got shot at the end of a movie in the 1980s.
Ash was 10 for 20 years.
It's Pokemon. Who gives a shit? It's fine.
Immortal spy man working for the British government.
Ash is a means to an end. James Bond is a horror movie, and we need to recognize that.
Anyway, sorry. James Bond lore done.
Take us back to Thelma and Louise, a movie that I actually like watching.
One thing, I'll throw this out there for funsies.